Hello, welcome back, guys. My name is Reflections of My Evolution, and I am here as a messenger for higher dimensions. This channel in the 3D is for the purpose of sharing knowledge to those who are coming into self-awareness and who are starting to uh, wake up to the awareness of this simulated reality. If my video happened to have showed up on your feed, uh, or you were guided here, then this means that your mind is blooming, my friend. My friends probably saw you and needed you to come here and listen to this video and this knowledge. So thank you for finding me and welcome to my channel. They want me to speak today on reinforcing things that I have already touched on before. Sometimes they will send me in a download, and once I start to translate the energy that is sent to me into words, I can kind of get a good idea of what the download is going to come into being or forming into. And this seems like it's coming through as an important reminder, a reinforcement, because reaching your awakening requires regular levels of mental repetition. The type of repetition that leads you away from what is familiar or comfortable to you, such as your unconscious 3D programming. Your experiences will change in your simulation as you drop old patterns and replace them with new ones. Your mind is basically like a movie projector in this experience. And the 3D physical world that you see all around you is what would be called the movie screen. Whatever is of focus to you, whether it shows up as a thought you focus on, an assumption that you have or you use regularly, or even emotional triggers that you are familiar with that you repeat over and over, are always being projected inside of this simulation in many different ways. Your own mental projections will always materialize into your surroundings. Everything always begins in the mind first, and then it will project out into a very highly advanced screen. And that screen that I speak of is what's known as your 3D reality. They want me to go ahead and use a metaphor in the third dimensional world. Um, and I'm going to use the idea or the experience of going to go see a movie at a cinema to use this as a metaphor so that it's easier to understand and to connect with. I'm sure everyone at some point in time has had a visit to the cinema, right? As you walk into the movie theater and you take a seat and watch a film, the lights will dim and the curtains will be pulled, and you will see this big screen there. And this is where the film will be played. That movie screen at the cinema is what is comparable to the filter in the third dimensional world in your simulation. This movie screen is basically a highly advanced and interactive screen that will move with you. Okay. And what I mean by highly advanced is that this screen will adapt to whatever scene is playing out in your simulation. So when you walk out somewhere and you're walking down the street or you're about to cross an intersection or you're just walking down the sidewalk, you can look down and see that your your feet are moving, right? You can see that as you're walking down the street, you see the screen move with you. So it gives you that kind of sensation that you are passing things and that things are passing you as you move. And that is the way the screen adapts to your movement as you move with it. This highly adaptive screen will adapt with whatever scene is playing out in your simulation. And your human senses will be synced into every experience that you have. So when you're walking, you're going to feel your feet as they walk. Okay. If there is a breeze passing, you're going to feel that breeze on your skin and on your hair. Okay. You will feel when you have to feel. You will smell when you have to smell. You will use your sense of sight to take everything in, to read things, to watch things, and so forth. All senses will be used to make every scene in your simulation look and feel real. This is your own personal movie, and it plays inside of a high level simulated reality. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that it feels that I connect or resonate with certain things that you mentally consume? Why is it that you feel, an automatic connection to things, right? Why is it that when you see something, you're like, oh, yeah, I totally get that, or I understand that, or that resonates with me? Okay, anything that we see in the 3D, and we are taught to think about this in a completely different way. But if you see something and it looks familiar, but you can't pinpoint why it is that you connect to such a thing, right? That usually means that it's your own projection, which means that you entertain whatever it is that you're mentally consuming first in your mind, and what you're seeing is a reflection of what you already thought about. So, what this means is that you thought of it first, and you mentally entertained it by thinking about it, by focusing on it, and then it materialized into your 3D physical space, or what I'm trying to use as a metaphor, your own personal movie screen. So when you see something that you really connect to, it's because you are seeing a reflection of something you already entertained on a mental level. Okay. Your unconscious conditioning in its totality will always surround you. What I am trying to say here is that you are constantly surrounded by your old patterns. You won't notice or even detect this at first. And just to be honest with all of you, I didn't know much of this either. I didn't even know that I had patterns that I was repeating over and over, and I wasn't conscious of them. Just to put that in as a little side note. And don't feel bad about this because it took me some time as well. Everything will come with experience. With every experience that you have, you will eventually get to a level of consciousness, or I guess what would be better to be said here would be to a level of self awareness, because you need to be aware that you're doing this first before you can even find it, where you are going to start to detect your own patterns. You are constantly either recreating an old pattern or either transforming that old pattern into something better. And what I mean by something better is a better way of perceiving something, having a better perspective on something, just changing the way that you think, process, or even think about something. You are always being offered a choice. And this is also something that I didn't catch on to at the very beginning. I didn't know that I had the power to choose. I thought that whatever came into my mind was true, so I just 100% automatically bought into whatever my mind would shoot up as a thought in my mind. So you're always being offered a choice, even if you are not conscious of it, which in the past I wasn't. You are either being offered the choice of recreating your next pattern or changing your perception into something entirely new. Your simulation is in constant state of rearrangement. Like I mentioned in just the previous video to this one, all of your experiences are malleable, they're changeable. You could use your previous bad experience as a learning, point so that you won't repeat that in the next experience. But that gap in between those two things, it takes a lot of self awareness and a lot of self work to be able to change that. Okay. Um, and also, the only way your simulation, your life simulation, and the quality of your life that you're living right now, the only way that it can change is if you make the change first. Okay? You can't keep thinking the same way, you can't keep doing the same way, things the same way, and expecting your life to change. It just doesn't work that way. And I wish it could be that easy, right? That I could continue just living the same life without having to make any changes and change my life for the better. But it doesn't work that way. Everything starts inside of you first. So if you want to change your life, guess what? You got to change. Um, your simulation is always in a state of flux, it's always changing. If you change, then everything around you is going to change. However, there's also the other side of the coin. Okay. If you feel that you identify and are still more connected to your 3D world or your 3D reality at this time, then that pretty much means that you are still repeating what is familiar to you, what you feel safe with, and what is comfortable. So at this current time, if you identify more with the 3D, you won't be able to detect your patterns. Your patterns can only be seen and detected when you are beginning to reach higher levels of consciousness, which basically means you are reaching a higher level of your own self awareness. Subconscious reprogramming is not an easy task, it takes effort. So I'm not going to sugarcoat things for you guys and tell you, oh, yeah, it's really easy to change your life and to change the way that you think, because it's not. But you got to know that you are worth it. You got to know that you deserve to have a better quality of life in order to do this and to keep it up and not just give up. Okay? It's not impossible. It takes effort. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. It can be done. Subconscious reprogramming involves dropping or even reformatting or rearranging your old programming that is keeping you tied to thinking the same way, to making the same decisions, to living a life that is safe to your unconscious programming, but is not 100% fulfilling to you. You know what the biggest life changing moment is? And each and every one of you will reach this moment at some particular point in time in your own journey, in your own evolution and expansion, is when you come to the knowing and you solidify this inner knowing that everything is coming from you. I mean, everything, okay? The good and the bad. Every sort of life drama, and I'm going to choose the bad ones here, whether it's, somebody opposing you or coming up as someone who is challenging, you know, that's also coming from you, believe it or not. Your inner world, no matter how bad it is always projecting outside of you. Um, Certain things, for example, like people that are toxic or show up as opposing you or being unkind or mean, even toxic relationships, bad decisions, unpleasant experiences, lack mentality, feeling like you're stuck, right? And you're not moving forward. All of this stuff, believe it or not, is a result of your inner world being projected onto the 3D screen of your physical reality. Um, I cannot ask you to know this automatically because many of you still are not consciously aware you are doing this. This level of awareness will come with time and how you are choosing to grow and to expand. If what I just said, triggered you or you took it to a personal level, if you're somebody who has a hard time accepting that you are responsible for the shitty things that happen to you, then you haven't reached a level of consciousness where you're able to accept this yet. Okay. Um, and it's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you haven't reached that level of awareness uh, to accept this. But one day you will get there. Um, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the third dimensional way of thinking to use this as an example. In the third dimensional world, there is something that is known as the ego. This is a portion of your mental processing that is known to want to keep you safe and to keep you secure. And the ego portion of the mind will do all it can to keep you safe by keeping you in a place where you will not be able to move forward. And what I mean by forward is change. Okay? The ego mind will try all it can to keep you safe by keeping you stuck, repeating what is familiar, even if these patterns happen to be destructive. This portion of the mind or your mental processing will keep you repeating what is familiar for safety because change is not familiar, because change is a risk, right? And change is scary and unknown. And the ego isn't down with any of this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Anything that has to do with change is a risk and it's basically a danger. So the ego wants to stop you from changing anything. Okay. Um, if you happen to struggle with fear or you feel that you do, then what this basically means is that your ego is dominant in your mental processing or in your day to day decision making. Fear can wear many masks. Okay. Fear can show up as having the fear of being judged by others, especially by people that you consider to be strangers, or even things like public humiliation. Ego comes up a lot when you happen to care a lot about what other people think, you know, and you feel embarrassment and you have a hard time accepting yourself. That's usually when the ego is at play. So, this is a good time for me to speak on ego, okay? And to speak on fear. Fear is connected to the ego, but fear in itself is a 3D program. Um, it's not a real concept, which means it's not real. Fear basically is mental. It's all coming from your mind, and it is your mind that is making the concept of fear, real to you. This is an obvious sign that it's part of your unconscious programming, and that's what fear is, and that's where it's coming from. Um, have no worries, guys. If this still sounds like a totally new language to you and you're having a hard time following right now, don't feel bad about this. These skills and this self awareness will show up for you as you expand and as you continue to change your mind and you continue to evolve. Okay? Because if you choose to change, this will all come at its own time. The purpose of me sharing this knowledge is to let you know that this human experience has always been a highly advanced game of the mind. Mental strength and mental resilience are skills that require many experiences first to master. Okay, this is probably a hard one, but it needs to be spoken on and it needs to be known. You need to realize that you have patterns. We all have them. I have my own as well. But here's the difference. Many of you who are still identify more with the third dimensional world, which is basically you're more at an unconscious level. you don't know that you have patterns. Okay. It takes some self-awareness to even be able to see that you have patterns. So in order for you to get to this place of being able to detect your patterns, you're going to find this out by the toxic cycles that you are going to end up repeating over and over. And you're going to get to a point where the pain or the discomfort of repeating the same behavior patterns or the same things that you do over and over, you're going to eventually get to a point where you're going to ask yourself, like, why is it that this always works out this way for me? Or why is it that no matter who I date, the connection goes south, right? Or I get my heart broken, or this person cheats on me, or if you happen to be someone who has had the story of having people opposing you, these are things that come even from way back when your character was playing the role of a child, when you were 100% unconscious. That's where a lot of these toxic patterns are picked up and become part of our unconscious programming. Okay, so a lot of this stuff goes way back to those moments when you were unconscious and you were like a sponge. You were just picking things up and collecting them and making them up into stories. And that's how your unconscious programming built itself. Um, as you continue to repeat these toxic cycles, unfortunately, um, you're going to notice, okay, when you get to this point of self-awareness, that the common denominator is only you. Okay, that this is all coming from you. Um, it's not going to be easy to accept this, okay, that you are the one that is creating all of this drama for yourself, you know. And if you still can't accept that this is all coming from you, and you take the fact that I'm bringing this up as personal, or if it triggers you in some way, then that's a good sign that your self-awareness isn't just yet, but you will get there. Okay. It's not my, I'm not purposely trying to trigger anyone. I'm doing this because I happen to care. And part of my, how do I put this? Part of me being a messenger for my friends for higher dimensions is for me to touch on subjects that will be hard to swallow and to accept. Okay. But I do it all out of love, because I wouldn't be here if I didn't care to give all of you who are having this human experience a chance at having a better quality of life. Okay, so you can stop the pain that you are causing yourself. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out this transmission once again. I hope that this knowledge will be of value for you. Take care of you. I wanted to take a few seconds here to thank you for coming by and watching my video. Thank you for your view today. And I hope that I will see you again when I come back. And I hope you are all well. Remember, you are the main character in your simulation. You are God, okay? Or I guess a better way would be like you are a God. So you need to start to see your simulation through the eyes of a God, okay? And start thinking like one. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the next one. As always, I love you. Bye.